very comfortable night. Overcast skies in Glendale, Arizona. Welcome to Camelback Ranch. Dodgers spring training baseball tonight against the Texas Rangers. And we say welcome inside with Oral Hershiser. I'm Joe Davis. Kelly Tennant with us tonight. She'll join us in just a moment. Oral, the overwhelming storyline in this spring has been the injuries at several different spots for the Dodgers. But you and I have been here a couple of weeks now, long enough to see plenty of positives as well going into the 2016 season. Among them, what stood out to you?
Well, I think tonight you look around, we're maybe getting a little bit healthier. Kike Hernandez leading off, playing shortstop. Yasiel Puig in the two-hole getting in there. The other thing I've really noticed is when Gonzo and Justin Turner are in the lineup, they're usually hitting 3 and 4. Both have been producing. Gonzo back from Team Mexico. Justin Turner's gotten a hit in every Cactus League game he's played. Gonzo's swing looks superb to me. The way he is swinging the bat right now, and he will tell you, all he wants to accomplish in spring training is see every pitch from every angle, left and right, and he has done that, and he's hit well. The other thing I've noticed is the guys, they're going to concentrate on defense, like the catchers and the center fielder, Jock Peterson. I think the organization is leaning towards having those guys hit near the bottom of the order so they can concentrate on D.
All right, and that defense will be around Alex Wood tonight, who will take the ball for the Dodgers. It's the Rangers and the Dodgers coming up on the other side of this break. Dodgers entertaining the Rangers tonight. Cactus League action. Joe Davis and Oral Hershiser with you. Down in the field tonight is Kelly Tennant.
Hello, gentlemen. It's always a good night when I can give you a positive injury report. Yasiel Puig back in the lineup tonight after being held out with that hamstring tightness. When I talked to Dave Roberts earlier today, we asked him about the decision to put him in the lineup because originally he was not in the lineup today. He said he wanted him to go through progressions with the trainers to make sure that he was feeling good. Obviously, this coaching staff having to be very careful about what they're doing with these players, very precautious because of all the injuries that they've seen so far. But Yasiel Puig, good news, he's back in.
All right, Kelly and Oral, we've seen this cautious approach with a lot of the players that have been injured, and it is because they can, because of the depth that they've built up to be able to withstand it.
Yeah, different demands as you get closer and closer to opening day. You go from cautious to, I need to get them ready. And if the player passes the test with the trainers, then the player is ready to play on the field. And you don't have to go for the extra day or 2 or 3 to make sure everything is gone. The players want to get their timing. They want to be ready. They want to be healthy. And it's that combination, that mix of risk and reward.
Alex Wood takes the ball for the Dodgers tonight. He's one of those guys who they took a cautious approach with at one point when he dealt with a sore forearm. Missed a start because of it. Making his 4th Cactus League start tonight. And going to work against the line, Otis Shields. Off we go with strike 1. Called by J.J. January. Home plate umpire tonight.
There's a baseball name for you.
He played baseball, actually. A few years in the minors, the Brewers system. How about Alex Wood, Oral? Here's a guy that came into camp battling for what he thought was the number 5 spot. But then when it was clear that Hyunjin Ryu would not start the season with a team, looked like he'd be into that 5 spot. And Brett Anderson goes down, and now Alex Wood figures to be the 4 starter for the Dodgers entering the year.
Now the 4th starter on his 4th start down here in the Cactus League. He's gone 2 innings, 3 innings, and 4 innings. They're coming out of a winter where he wanted to refine some of his mechanics, get his arm slot up a little higher. Been working on that most of the spring. He's gotten his pitch count up to as high as 63, and you would think he would want to expand on both the innings and the pitch count tonight. I would think they would try and get him past the 80 mark and at least try and get him to go 5 innings.
We'll have one more tune-up before the regular season in the Freeway Series coming up this weekend in Los Angeles. And then his first start of the regular season will be the home opener for the Giants as the Dodgers road trip continues into the second leg. And starts tonight with a strikeout of DeShields. It was one of the only regulars part of this Rangers lineup tonight. No Chu, no Beltre, no Fielder, no Desmond, no Moreland. Top 3 in the lineup, though, are regulars after DeShields, Andrus, and then Odor. Torinos figures to be the starting catcher, but the other pieces either minor leaguers or guys battling for the final spots on the roster. Jeff Bannister, 2nd season as the manager. As Andrus attacks the first pitch, and a swinging bunt that Wood gets rid of in time. 2 gone.
Alex Wood gets off the mound in a hurry, beats Justin Turner to the ball over there at third base, and you see him bound off. Not your typical lefty falling off to third base a lot. He was really kind of twisting and turning on the mound when he finally broke over, but the strong, accurate throw gets him by a hair.
Last pitched on Tuesday against the Royals. Gave up 3 runs on 4 hits, but did go 6 innings in that game. And gets strike 1 on Rougned Odor. One of the top young players in the game that you don't hear much about. It really came on for the Rangers last year, helped them in that playoff push. He was a different guy, Orl, after he came up from a midseason send down to AAA. Lighted a spark under him. And Jeff Bannister saw the benefits of his return to the majors in the second half.
Yeah, his power per pound is right up there. He's a very strong young man with a very quick but long swing. He's got kind of a long swing, but he gets the bat through the hitting area very fast. It doesn't seem to hamper him.
Chopper to the left side. Hernandez with the long throw to get him. And a 1-2-3 first inning. Executed by Alex Wood.
Kike Hernandez with Justin Turner flashing in front of him, stays with it. A quick release and an accurate throw gets him to go 3 up, 3 down.
Jeff Bannister's group down in order in the top half. Dodgers coming up for the first time tonight. Dave Roberts' lineup that he pens out for this Monday night game begins with Kike Hernandez out of the leadoff spot. Kelly told you about Puig being inserted into the second copy of the lineup we saw this afternoon. Turner and Gonzalez seem to have settled into those 3 and 4 spots, and Van Slyke having a monster spring batting out of that 5 spot this evening against the left-hander Derek Holland, who begins his 6th Cactus League start after time is called. What's the book on Derek Holland, Earl?
Well, first and foremost, he's going to try and be healthy this year. He's been limited to 58 innings last year and in the 30s the year before, shoulder and knee issues. And he's a guy that fluctuates between having control and having command. When he's in the strike zone and has command, he gets a lot of outs, keeps the ball out of the air, fewer home runs. But when he has just control and the ball happens to leak up a little bit, especially in that Texas ballpark, he can give up a lot of home runs. And that's the difference really between him. He's not afraid to come in the strike zone, but he's best, of course, when he's near the corners.
29-year-old from Newark, Ohio, has one line towards center to Shields on the move, runs it down for the first out.
This is a Texas Ranger ball club that's looking to get an awful lot of starts from some really high-quality individuals. Cole Hamels, Yu Darvish will be in that rotation at some point. Derek Holland, Martin Perez. Their rotation really struggled last year, even though they ended up coming back and winning the division. The Cole Hamels acquisition was about present tense, but it also was about the future. They've got him under control for another 4 years.
Started last season 7-14. They weren't above 500 full-time until mid-August. Didn't lead the division for the first time until mid-September as Yasiel Puig takes the strike. Good to have Puig back in the lineup. Kelly reported earlier that he dealt with that hamstring tightness the last couple of days, and the Dodgers taking a cautious approach with it. Went over everything with the trainers this afternoon and decided to stick him back in there tonight for the first time since Friday. 2-1.
Yeah, you don't throw caution to the wind, but as you get closer to opening day, you throw caution to the breeze. you will start to think more about, I need my guys in the lineup, I need to get them ready.
Holland's 2-1 to Puig. He's elevated. He left it up there and goes ahead in the count 3-1. There is, speaking of breeze, plenty of it tonight. And it has been out towards left. Right now it looks like a cross from right to left. And Puig earns the walk. Here's Justin Turner. His video game numbers so far this spring, 11 for 17 with a home run and 6 doubles.
He's picked up right where he left off, one of the top hitters in the National League and one of the top hitters really in all of baseball. And microfracture surgery, rehab that kept him from getting a full amount of at-bats coming in. But he has been on schedule and jumped over every hurdle as far as health. And then as soon as he got into these games, he has been on fire.
And only 7 games played during Cactus League for him. But peaking towards the regular season, now just 1 week away. Opening day 1 week from tonight.
A lot of big league teams, you think about, limping to the finish line and hoping you can get healthy, then going into the playoffs. We're kind of limping to the starting gate.
Yeah.
It has been quite an adventure for Bob Guerin and first-year skipper Dave Roberts to have this kind of adventurous spring training. Split squad games, guys trying to come back. How much can I play him? Can I play him at all?
Turner tomahawks a pop-up and foul ground first base side. Ryan Rua can't find it, and it comes back with that wind into fair territory where Odor makes the catch.
Well, there's a very good example, other than the flags, to show you how much wind there is when a big leaguer can't get himself under a pop-up. Even when the ball's as low as 40, 50 feet from him in the air, it still makes a dive back into fair territory. Some gale force winds kind of up there.
Man. Lucky for Ryan Rua that Odor ran after it too. Turner the second out. And here's Adrian Gonzalez. Torino's back picks to first. Puig in there safely. Gonzalez playing in his 12th game of the spring. Missed some time over the first couple of weeks of Cactus League games with a sore neck, but has shown no signs of that since. Spent a few days away from the team with Team Mexico in the World Baseball Classic qualifiers. And they have a interesting shift on him where they've not totally put the over shift on, but they've put the second baseman Odor in short right field. Hollins 0-1, and Gonzalez drills a line drive to center for a base hit.
Well, there's not much analyzing this swing other than it is picture perfect. A left-on-left situation, doesn't give away his front side. It's a heater, even though he's got to be aware of the breaking ball. He stays right on it and drives it up the middle.
First hit for the Dodgers tonight. 2 on with 2 out for Scott Van Slyke, who's been their top hitter this spring. Getting the start in left field tonight against the left-handed pitcher in Holland. It had figured to be a platoon with he and Andre Ethier. But with the Ethier injury, more playing time for Carl Crawford. Ball 1. Entering his 5th year with Major League time. Back and forth between AAA and the Bigs in 2012 and 13. He's been a part-time player the last 2 years. They get Puig. So Puig picked off of second to bring this first inning to a close.
2 out. You're going to go on contact. You don't need the biggest lead ever. Take yourself out of an RBI situation.
Two, 3 first inning for Alex Wood. Back to work against the middle third of the Rangers order here in a scoreless second. Entering his 2nd season in a Dodger uniform. He was part of that 13-player deal midseason with the Atlanta Braves. Ryan Rua hammers the first pitch to left center field, and that ball is wind boosted and didn't even need it. Rua's second home run of the spring on the first pitch of the second inning.
Three up, three down, first inning for Alex Wood. You come out, you warm up really good. You're feeling good about yourself. You're just going to attack the first hitter. You want to keep the ball down. You happen to throw it slightly up, slightly inner half, and the guy doesn't miss it. It should hopefully just be a blip on the screen. It's a big blip now, but how it affects you should be keep attacking.
The fourth home run that Wood has allowed in 10 innings this spring makes it 1-0. And he pours in a strike to Robinson Chirinos. Starting catcher for the Rangers. One of the 4 regulars that Alex Wood will face off with in this lineup tonight.
The fact that you give up a home run is one thing. Really, though, the most important thing is how you react to giving up that home run.
How about a chopper to third? Easy play, Justin Turner.
First pitch, two-seamer down right on the corner. The next pitch, a changeup that was a little low, and then he goes back to his changeup, gets the ground out, gets right back on the beam.
There's Michael McHenry in his first season with the Rangers, battling for the backup catcher spot behind Chirinos. He's DHing tonight. And looks at a strike. He's played for the Rockies. He's played for the Pirates in spot duty over the last 6 seasons. Faces a pull shift and looks at a ball.
We saw the shifts come into vogue in the big leagues, and then all of a sudden we started seeing more and more of the right-handed hitter shifts.
Up and in, 2-2. I know you had a cold to start spring training. You dealing with a cold again over there? Packing up a lung.
Yeah,
for that cough
I think
button.
what's going on is I have lost the ability to drink down the correct tube.
It's never good.
No. I'll look it up on the internet.
How to fix it? Should be a YouTube video for it.
Yeah.
Here's a 3-2, and McHenry pulls a bouncing ball to Kike Hernandez. Alex Wood responding to the home run with a couple of ground outs, 2 away.
Kike, with all the reps he's gotten at shortstop with Corey Seager's injury, is starting to really look very comfortable there at short. His rhythm and his timing for the position looks at a much higher level.
All 13 games that he started this spring have come at short. That is his most natural position, but on this roster, when it's fully healthy, it will not be a spot that he'll see a ton of time at. And Corey Seager is expected back before long. 6 more innings on the minor league side today. Went 1 for 5. Played some solid defense. Made a couple of plays on the move. Got to run the bases. They said he looked sharp there. And they still hope to have him for opening day next week in San Diego.
When he came out of the minors last year and joined the Dodgers and made an immediate adjustment to the big league game, it's not something that I worry about because of that history of him getting reps against big league pitchers. There was no adjustment for him coming from minor league pitching to big league pitching. He hit over 330. He looked very at ease at the big league game against big league pitchers. And so the fact that he's getting his work on the backfields against minor leaguers is not a worrisome thing with him because of what he's shown.
Wood strikes out Drew Stubbs, and you asked how would he respond to that solo shot to begin the inning. Ground out, strikeout. Scott Van Slyke was at the plate when the first inning ended. And Hack attacks the first pitch here, the second. Lifts a fly ball to left for Drew Stubbs for the first out of the inning. And we welcome you inside. Joe Davis and Oral Hershiser. We've been here for a couple of weeks now. It's been a nice run with you. Enjoying your Cactus League time this year?
I am, other than nursing the team through all these injuries and watching that. But you know what? I am so glad we have the depth. I am so glad we're going to be ready for opening day. We're going to see what the roster ends up looking like. But, you know, hopefully Howie Kendrick can get healthy quickly. Hopefully Yasmani Grandal can get healthy quickly. And then we're going to be starting to wait for all the pitchers to get healthy.
There's Austin Barnes. He's been one of the beneficiaries of the injury problems. Does the catching tonight for the 6th time this spring. And perhaps an opening day roster spot for him with Yasmani Grandal continuing to rehab a forearm issue. Took some dry swings today, and he's even started throwing. There was a stretch where Grandal was still catching bullpens, but was handing the ball to a minor leaguer to have it thrown back to the pitcher that was throwing the pen. Barnes not just a catcher, but has shown the ability to play second base this spring. Something that he did during his college days at Arizona State. Here's a 1-2, and it's 2-2.
Yeah, Austin is very versatile and has not shown that any portion of the game or any position will overwhelm him. Another guy a little smaller in stature, but really gets the bat through the hitting area with some power and speed. A very athletic baseball player. He looks like he makes adjustments on the fly really well and thinks the game. Understands what pitchers are trying to do to him. Understands that when he moves from one position to another on defense, that he understands the speed of the game at that position.
Strikes out on an elevated pitch from Holland, 2 away on Holland's first strikeout of the night. Here's Jock Peterson. After getting the day off yesterday, and the Dodgers lost to the Reds, Peterson back in the lineup, starting in center, hitting 7th. You mentioned it off of the top, some of the things that we've started to see this spring materialize. One of those things is perhaps their best defensive players hitting near the bottom of the lineup. That seems to be the case with Jock.
Yeah, with the most responsibility defensively as far as the catchers, you know, ushering the pitching staff through the season, and Jock in center field. I think it's twofold with Jock. I think everybody knows that he's going through an adjustment period with mental adjustments and physical adjustments at the plate. Maybe try to relieve some of that pressure and remove an at-bat also. Nomar has pointed out to me an awful lot that when a guy goes into a slump or you're trying to nurse him back, it's much better to hit him in the 7th or 8th or 9th hole if you could in the American League, because you don't get that 4th or 5th at bat. So if you happen to scratch out a hit, your statistics start to look better and better to you. That 1 for 3 feels a lot better than 1 for 4. The 1 for 4 feels better than a 1 for 5. And if you happen to squeak out a walk, which Jock is very adept at doing, his all of a sudden a 1 for 3 down in the 7 hole could be a 1 for 2. And so with the changes he's making and his defensive responsibilities, maybe Dave Roberts will take a little heat off him and keep him down the bottom of the order as he goes through that adjustment and starts the season.
He was the first Dodger in 13 years to hit 25 home runs and walk 90 times. Even with the second half struggles, he still, like you mentioned, had that good patience. Fouls one off of his foot, and it stays at 3-2.
When you talk to Turner Ward and you talk about Yasiel Puig and Jock Peterson, who have been the focus coming into this spring training of making adjustments at the plate, talks about with both of them not letting them get too big. As you see Turner Ward bending the ear of Yasiel there, and Yasiel listening intently.
Bounce to first for Ryan Rua. And the Dodgers down an order in the second.
presented by authority of the Los Angeles Dodgers, may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of the game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Dodgers.
Alex Wood back out there for the third inning. The Rangers in front 1-0 on a solo shot from Ryan Rua. They began the second. Wood then sat the Rangers down in order. 25 years old out of Charlotte, North Carolina. 8-hitter Drew Robinson stands in and takes strike one. Robinson, the 23-year-old who was drafted out of high school and entering what will be his 7th minor league season. Chases one, and it's 0-2. Spent the last couple of years at Double-A. Alex Wood drops one down, 1 ball, 2 strikes.
You know, Joe, there's different stages of change. And Alex Wood went through a major change in the offseason for him, you know, cleaning up his mechanics and getting his arm slot up. And the first thing you do is you okay, come to the realization you have to change or want to change. And then you start working on it, and maybe you even film it, and you say, you know what, I'm about every third pitch, I'm starting to feel it. That's the position I want to be in. That's where I am. And then you get into games like here in spring, and you don't get the best results, but you're still kind of feeling for it. Tonight, for me, it looks like it's getting so comfortable that he can compete.
And not think.
That's not thinking about the mechanics, not thinking about making sure I get my arm in this position or my body in this position. He looks like it's free, it's easy, and it's coming natural now, and he can compete. He is so out front. The ball is jumping out of his hand. His release is down the hill, and it looks like everything is kind of in sequence, and he's not in his own skull, like thinking mechanics or trying to feel through it.
Strikes out Robinson, his 3rd punch out of the night. He spent a full month early in the offseason or without even grabbing a ball and going through his windup dry. Hot shot on the ground. Hernandez juggled on the transfer, but still able to get it there to get Strasburger. 2 out. So he would, go through his windup with no ball. He was sending video of that to Rick Honeycutt and to a couple of biomechanics experts who helped him refine that delivery like you talked about, with a bit more over the top now. And looking sharp here in his 5th start of the spring.
There are different ways to get over the top. The one is to, get the ball out of your glove a little bit more with your fingers on top, which then gets your elbow higher and gets your arm slot higher. And then the other thing is you watch the relationship between your hips and your shoulders, because your spine angle can actually raise your arm slot, at least visually. And for me, I think he has accomplished it in a really good way, because he's got his head on the belly button side of his body, and he's still getting his arm up, and he's driving straight towards home plate, so he's got his body mass supporting his arm and driving the ball in. It doesn't ever look like his body is leaving his arm alone to do the work by itself. The body, the legs, the hips, the shoulders are all complementing his arm.
The Shields bangs one into the ground, and it takes a bad bounce over Hernandez, and the inning extends.
It was going to be bang at first with the Shields speed. And I think Kike knew that as he goes to kind of snap at the ball right there and doesn't get enough leather in front of it.
And it is ruled an error on Kike Hernandez to keep this inning alive. For Elvis Andrus. 2-time All-Star, entering his 8th big league season. Takes ball 1. He was an All-Star in 2010, was an All-Star in 2012, but his numbers have dropped each of the last few years since those All-Star seasons. And last year, some of the worst numbers of his entire career. 2-0. Rangers fans, the lasting images from last year for Elvis Andrus will be the 2 critical errors that he had in that fateful 7th inning. Game 5 of the ALDS in Toronto. Drives one to the opposite field gap. That's down for a base hit. Cut off by Puig, who fires into the cutoff man Culberson. DeShields holds it third on a 2-out base hit from Andrews.
A good piece of hitting right here, staying on top of this high fastball, not popping it up or flying out to right, but hitting that line drive. Now Alex Wood, it's time for him to try and pick up Kike Hernandez, that error that at short that kept this inning going.
Brings up Odor. We mentioned that 7th inning, that crazy 7th inning in Toronto in the ALDS last year. It was Odor who scored what was the go-ahead run. Remember on that crazy play with a throw back from the catcher hit the bat of Shin-Soo Choo and deflected into foul territory, allowing Odor to come in to score. It was Russell Martin, former Dodger, that had made that throw. One of those plays that you may never see again happened to come the 7th inning of a playoff game. And Andrews Ayers opened the door for Jose Bautista's home run with the iconic bat flip. It helped send the Toronto Blue Jays into the ALCS. Nice looking pitch, 2-1.
And trying to pitch around the air at shortstop. The Dodgers made the fewest errors in all of Major League Baseball last year, only 75. Fielded at a 988 clip. That's going to be a big bar to jump over this year. They were excellent.
Broken bat liner caught it first. Gonzalez makes the play and gets out of the way of the barrel, which goes flying out towards him. And so the inning is over. A couple of 2-out base runners, but the defense of Gonzalez helps Wood get out of it unscathed. A solo shot, the only scoring in the game, and Charlie Culberson stands in there to begin the 3rd inning for the Dodgers by taking ball 1 from Derek Holland. Starting at second base tonight, only the 2nd time that he's been there this spring. The majority of his playing time at short. Pulls one over third, hooking foul. He was signed in November. Dodgers buying low on Charlie Culberson, a guy that had some good years with the Rockies, but then last year had a bulging disc in his back and was limited to just 5 games, all of them in AAA. But has been an important piece this spring, especially with Corey Seager's time out with a knee injury at short. Hollins 1-1. Solid base hit into left center. Culberson with the leadoff single, and Alex Wood comes up for the first time this spring. Dodgers have used DHs for much of the spring, but starting to get the pitchers some ABs here as we reach the regular season.
You don't want to take the risk early on of the pitchers facing all the different guys and getting in there to bunt and swing, but once they're fully in shape, they've got to start getting some reps at game speed.
Wood stabs at it, strike one. Saw Kenta Maeda in his start yesterday in his very first at-bat of the spring, up there to sacrifice, fouled a pair off, was down 0-2, and then was able to execute.
Yep, got it down with 2 strikes, used the whole field, just bunted it directly back to the pitcher, about 15 feet, just barely out of the dirt, got the job done. Or Alex Wood kind of gets in there to the box for me. I don't think he's close enough to the plate, because the whole outer half of the plate is a place where he has to move the bat to get the bat to cover that area, and that's where that pitch right was there, so he kind of has to stab at it. I think you need to be at a position in the batter's box so that when you square around the bunt, that the barrel of the bat can cover the outside corner. Looks like he's trying to creep up on it a little bit.
And just like Maeda, he's able to lay it down with 2 strikes and advance Culberson into scoring position.
A little easier ball to bunt right here for Alex, because it's up in the strike zone. You think, oh, you throw up because you're going to get him to pop it up, but he's such a tall individual and holds the bat there at the top of his strike zone that he can easily catch that high pitch right there. Doesn't have to lean over to the low outside corner.
How much bunting did you learn from Maury Wills?
A lot of bunting from Maury Wills, and Dick McLaughlin used to run our little bunting area. Maury would give the lessons, but McLaughlin would run the cage where we did most of our bunting, and they turn into a lot of contests, like with point systems of different areas where you get the bunt down, higher points for areas for that's a guaranteed sacrifice, and a borderline sacrifice, and then no way that's a sacrifice. But yeah, there's so much really to bunting. And it's so much fun to learn every little detail about it.
Especially when you're learning from somebody like Maury Wills, who's still around camp now. And
but it's one thing to create the angle of the bat when you're bunting. It's another thing to maintain the angle of the bat. And to maintain, the number one tip for maintaining the angle of the bat for me, for Maury, especially as a right-handed bunter, is to get your bottom hand close to your hip, because then it makes your top hand long enough to maintain the angle to bunt the ball to third. But if you have your bottom hand as a right-handed bunter trying to bunt the ball to third, if you have your bottom hand away from your body, now your upper arm is not long enough when you extend it to continue to create the angle to bunt the ball to third. There's so many little pro tips in bunting that you can get that done.
High drive down the left field line off of the bat of Kike Hernandez, and it is a fair ball and a home run. A skyscraper, and it's 2-1 Dodgers.
Alex Wood did a great job getting the bunt down, but when you hit it out of the park, it doesn't matter if the runner's standing at first or you sacrificed him to second, and Kike Hernandez made sure of that. That ball took a ride on the wind, and the umpires are going to gather to see if it really was fair. Down and in breaking ball, kind of golfs at it, and Kike thinks, I've got distance, but do I have the angle? Sure looks like it made it.
Holland thinks it's foul. Drew Stubbs, though, in left field, who had a good look at it, didn't have any kind of reaction.
Kike's coming back out of the dugout.
And the crowd's reaction will tell you what the ruling is. The umpires come together and say that it's foul. And you wonder how that happens, because the umpire with the best look at it down the third base line is the one that initially made the call. So the 3 umpires that he's partnered with got together, none of whom had as good of an angle as he did, and overturned it.
The overturning had to come from the home plate umpire. That's the only other guy that could say, well, I had a really good view of it, and I thought I had it foul.
Hope you're filling your book out in pencil.
I never got to it because I was covering the replay. I haven't.
All right, good. Hernandez now behind in the count, 1-2. Holland trying to turn a home run into a strikeout. Andrews going to third to get Culberson.
In my day, we had this thing called the Yellow Pages, and our extra coach, defensive coach Joe Ferguson, was in charge of the Yellow Pages. You didn't want your name on the Yellow Pages. The Yellow Pages was a baseball detail, a baseball fundamental that you should know and not run into outs going to third or getting picked off second with 2 out. That would be in the Yellow Pages in my day.
And typically that is on a ball hit in front of you.
Yeah, right there. You're already in scoring position, 1 out, and you've got to really make sure you can make it if you're going to do that.
Yasiel Puig takes ball 1. Walked his first time and then was picked off of second. So a couple of bad base running plays for the Dodgers tonight.
We were talking about getting big with Turner Ward and talking to Yasiel and Jock as one of the main thrusts in spring training of them making an adjustment right there. When you get your pitch to hit, if you get big, you're going to foul it off or you're going to swing and miss. And all of a sudden, a big league pitcher doesn't give you a lot of mistakes. And so having that accurate, consistent, solid swing on those pitchers' pitches, the ones where they make a mistake, or the hitter's counts, the one where they got to come in. To foul those off at this level or to swing and miss at this level, you're not maybe going to see another one until you're next at bat.
Continue to pound him inside, and he blows this one by him for strike 3. Second punch out of the game for Derek Holland. For a moment, the Dodgers led 2-1, but the home run wiped off when the umpires come together. By BMW. See a Southern California BMW Center today for exceptional offers, or visit SoCalBMW.com. Ryan Rua coming to the plate. He is accounted for the only run in this game with a monster home run to lead off the second. Went after the first pitch of the inning against Alex Wood. And the only blemish on either pitcher's resume was Rua's second home run of the spring. What has been a very productive spring for him, hitting well above 400. And that is not in limited action. Getting his fair share of at-bats, trying to earn his way back onto the big league roster. He's the opening day left fielder last year. Wound up only playing 28 games because of injury. Turner with a nice back pick. Gonzalez the same and one away.
The hard part of this play is right here. The throw is pretty easy, and Justin just has a little tail to it, but when you're throwing it over to Adrian Gonzalez with his gold glove and soft hands, just get it in the area.
Robinson Chirinos taking strike one. He grounded out to third his first time. It's a nice pitch, 0-2.
I really love Alex Wood's trajectory of the ball. It's so sharp right now. He's out front. The breaking ball's got good finish. The changeup's got depth. He looks like he's really spinning the ball very, very well.
Came into camp and one of the very first days told reporters, I plan on being in the rotation and I don't plan on leaving. And that was before it was clear that he would be part of the rotation. Painted over the outside corner with a fastball for strike three. His fourth punch out of the game.
I love the fact that he came into camp with that kind of attitude. I'm glad that he was brave enough to state it publicly. A lot of guys will just keep that quiet and just kind of, you know, milquetoast the quick comments to the press about, you know, we're all competing, we're all teammates. But he's like, no, I want the job and I want to stay in there. And you know what? His mechanics and his comfort level with the way he was throwing the ball might not have been able to match up to his words, but I'll tell you right now, they're matching up.
Michael McHenry takes a strike. It's 1-1. And 3 years in the majors, 500 all 3 years for Alex Wood. 3-3 his first year, 11-11 the next year, 12-12 last year. Spins one inside. It's 2-1. He was exclusively a starter last year after he split time between the pen and the rotation his first 2 seasons. Both of them in Atlanta. 3-1. Three and two.
You can see with Alex Wood being a left-hander with the kind of herky-jerky mechanics how people would think about playing him out of the bullpen, because this is a hard delivery to pick up on, you know, for once through the order. But the fact that he can throw both of his breaking ball and his changeup and pitch with them gives him an opportunity to be a very successful starter.
Trying to work a 1-2-3 fourth. And a crackbat liner over third for a base hit. McHenry with a 2-out single. Keep the frame alive for Drew Stubbs. And long reliever is what most folks coming into spring probably would have pegged him as. Those that were hoping that Ryu would be ready to go. And then Brett Anderson was still healthy at that point before the back surgery. There just wasn't necessarily a spot for Wood. But the opportunities presenting themselves to him and trying to take advantage going into his 4th major league season. Going 1 on Drew Stubbs. Located well, 0-2.
Fastball in for a first pitch strike, and then a ball that either took a little off or a two-seamer away right there, located low and away. Got Stubbs, who is a notorious fastball hitter, likes to jump at that fastball and get him to roll over a lot of things on the low and away corner.
Wow, fastball, pinpoint accuracy from Wood. And his 5th punch out of the game. He pitches around a 2-out single, and it's still 1-0 after 3.5. Dodgers down 1-0, bottom of the 4th inning, and the rival Giants come to Dodger Stadium for 3 games beginning Friday, April 15th. So be sure to get your tickets today and show up to the stadium wearing your Dodger blue. Go to Dodgers.com/tickets. Teams will first play in San Francisco on the back half of the season opening road trip, as Justin Turner looks at a breaking ball for strike 1 from Derek Holland. Popped out his first time on a ball that looked like it might even reach the dugout. The wind tugged it right back into play, right back into fair territory, where the second baseman Odor caught it. One of the best hitters in the game over the last 2 seasons. It's 1-2. And the breakout year in 2014 and his first year in Los Angeles. The injuries to Hanley Ramirez, Juan Uribe opening up some playing time for him. He hit .340 in that first year. And then again last year in his most extended time as a big leaguer. Career highs in homers and RBIs. Waits on this 2-2 from Holland. And it runs full.
Justin Turner so appreciated in L.A., but around baseball, maybe a quiet name, but getting bigger. You know, over the last 2 seasons, guys with at least 500 plate appearances, he's tied for the 5th best average.
Digs that ball out of the dirt, rolls it to second. Odor throws him out, 1 away.
You're talking guys like Jose Altuve at 327, Cabrera at 323, Michael Brantley at 319, Morneau at 316, Buster Posey and Dustin Turner, tied at 314 over the last 2 seasons.
So that's tied for #1 in the National League over the last 2 years.
Yep. And then as the rave reviews that Paul Goldschmidt is over there in Arizona, he's below him at 312, 2 points below him.
Gonzalez singled his first time. That's one of just 2 hits against Derek Holland. He showed bunt and then flipped the base hit against the shift.
Derek Holland with a wry smile, and there's a nasty word that this gets called, but we'll call it a butcher boy. Square around the bunt and then slash. Everybody's smiling about that one.
We saw Jay Bruce and Joey Votto yesterday both bunting to beat the overshift as a left-handed hitter. He showed bunt, and then heck, I might as well get a legitimate line drive base hit to left. Scott Van Slyke now. 0 for 1 today with a fly out to left.
You say, what was that swing? Why does it look like he swung the bat underwater? He was guessing fastball and realized it's breaking ball, and he just kind of went to the slower bat speed.
Out of the fastball, and it's away. 1 ball and 1 strike. Breaking ball, fastball, breaking ball. 2-1.
If you're guessing fastball first pitch, you might be guessing fastball here in the 2-1 count.
See if Van Slyke can do some damage. He was.
Ooh, he's mad at himself. He was in between mentally.
Runner at first with 1 away in a 1-0 game, and a 2-2 to Van Slyke. Towering pop-up to center. It's to Shields. 2 out. Well, Derek Holland putting together some pretty good innings for the Rangers now. He's coming off his best outing. Struck out 7 over 5 shutout innings against the Cubs in his last outing. He'd been just so-so over his first few outings, but talked with the staff and decided to work at a much better pace last time out. And saw the benefits there, working at a decent pace today and having another good night. Barnes drives one the other way. Strasburger running back on it to make the play and bring an end to the 4th inning. Dodgers trailing 1-0 as we move to the 5th. Front of the Dodgers 1-0 on a Ryan Rua solo home run. We check in with Kelly Tennant.
Thank you, Joe. Well, today was a very big day in the career of Dodgers pitcher Jamie Wright. Just this afternoon, he announced his retirement, and I had a chance to speak with him for a few minutes right after. As you can see, he was drafted in 1993, a 19-year veteran in MLB, and he played for 10 different teams, and he told me, when you play for 10 different teams, you know what that means? I have more friends than anyone. But he was so grateful for the Dodgers to bring him in. He said he was really relieved when he spoke with Dave Roberts and realized, I'm not going to make this team. They want the best for me. We're going to talk through this whole transition. They actually offered for him to pitch in Anaheim later this week as his going away, and he said, I can't emotionally handle that. I had the perfect going away with these guys. I'm glad I was able to do this, and that is that. He told me he had a perfect night's sleep last night after making this decision for himself and his family, and obviously we wish him the best of luck.
Jamie Wright acted on and showed his character right up to the very end in announcing his retirement, in making the decision not to have it linger closer to the beginning of the Dodgers season, showing the great teammate that he is, focusing on and the priority of putting the team first, which he has always done throughout his career.
Alex Wood ahead of Drew Robinson, 1-2. 19-year big league career, 10 different teams: Rockies, Brewers, Cardinals, Royals, Giants, Rangers, Indians, Mariners, Dodgers, Rays, and again the Dodgers. Last team that he pitched for in a big league game 2 years ago.
It is about ability, and it is about getting people out, and it is about being part of a pitching staff. But it is, when it comes down to a very fine line of deciding who is going to be on the team and who makes the team, Jamie Wright was always the guy that got put over the top and back on the team because of his character and his ability to be a great teammate. He's just a wonderful human being to be around and a wonderful guy to have on your team.
Alex Wood has recorded strikeouts for the last 3 outs. And Justin Turner, one of the many guys that tweeted about Jamie Wright this afternoon following his retirement, said one of his favorite teammates he ever had. And he told Kelly, Jamie Wright did, that because he's been on 10 teams, he's got as many friends as anybody. But it's not just because he's been on 10 teams, it's because of the kind of guy he is.
Yep. And he could do, in the role that he was in, he was the guy who got abused sometimes, as the guy who just had to suck it up and eat innings and go out there the third day in a row and the bullpen is beat up and he's like, I'll take the ball. And it would beat his ERA up or his stats, and you maybe look at the end of the year and go, oh, you didn't have a very good year. Well, the reason sometimes those guys don't look like they have an overall good year is because they take it for the team, and you need those guys that'll do that.
Strasburger beats it out. Heck of an effort from Hernandez. It throws a mile from short left field. Strasburger running hard, beats it out for an infield single.
You get out there in the outfield grass as a shortstop. Once a guy is above average speed, you're probably not going to get him.
Kike getting some good action at short tonight. Already has 3 assists and nearly a 4th there. Just a liner to Shields, 0 for 2. Reached on an error his last time. With the infield at double play depth, he shows bunt, takes ball 1. Made his big league debut last year. Became the everyday center fielder and leadoff hitter in early July after he came back from a stint on the disabled list with a hamstring injury. It really helped spark this club after he came back. His first game playing the field tonight since last Tuesday. He's been dealing with some biceps tendonitis. Got the DH on Saturday for his first game period in a few days. But back in the field in center tonight.
Handle the bat at the plate. You can run at first base. Get a 1-1 count. Get a 1-1 or a 2-1 count. You start looking, are they going to play a little hit and run, a little run and hit?
He bunts it. A juggle from Barnes, but he recovers and gets the out. They're working on bunt defense on the backfields just a few hours ago. And Barnes pounces on it and throws out the speedy DeShields.
Yeah, DeShields definitely trying to push this ball to first with a left-handed pitcher for a base hit. 1 out. It's not a sacrifice. They end up getting the sacrifice. 2-out man on second. You see as he goes to push it right there. He didn't even think he hit it enough. He thought it was a foul ball. Fortunate enough for us because the way Austin Barnes kind of stabbed that at the first time, I had to re-grab. Shields might have beat it out if he'd have busted it the whole way and anticipated a fair ball.
So runner at second with 2 gone. Here's Elvis Andrus, who is 1 for 2 today. That one drops out, ball 1. Bounce back to the mound his first time and then singled in the third. It's one of only 4 Rangers hits against Wood, who's been really sharp. 6 punch outs for the left-hander.
No Odor, left-hander, is on deck, but I don't think Alex Wood is pitching around Andrus. I think he'll try and make a high-quality pitcher's pitch here and hopefully get back into this count.
That's exactly what he did. He's been living on the corners tonight.
And he has really owned that arm side low and away pitch to righties. And then to left-handers, he's been able to get the ball to the other side of the plate and keep it down, and that shows that he is in really good rhythm in both lanes.
Missed his spot that time, 3-1.
Most important thing about those pitches when you are behind a lot of times is to make sure it's at least down with some action. If the bat's getting started, you want him to hit the top of it and get a ground ball. Like that. That was a really good pitch, even though he walked him.
First walk of the night, just barely missed.
Just think about this, 3-1 fastball hitter against a fastball pitch. You get it down there, maybe he's aggressive and he's in a hitter's count. He probably makes an out on that pitch and tops it. Yes, it's ball 4, but You don't want to give in with a man and runner in scoring position right there.
So now he has to face Odor, who's grounded to short and lined to first. Shattered his bat his last time. High fly ball to center. Jock Peterson back on it, and it carries out of here for a 3-run homer.
Odor, he is a left-hand hitter against a left-hand pitcher. This fastball right here, he gets it up in the jet stream. At first, when it left the bat, I'm thinking in a normal big league park with no wind, that's just an out. But tonight, that just catches the wind and just goes right out of here.
Perfect action on the ball to get out of here. Put it right into the jet stream, like you said.
And had some backspin to it. The trajectory off the bat was too high if we were in like a normal setting.
So all 4 runs tonight for the Rangers coming off of the long ball. Solo shot for Rua, and now a 3-run homer for Odor.
That ball Odor has got up there in the wind and just flattened out. He just knew it was gone.
Here is Rua. Wood trying to respond well, just like he did when he gave up the home run to Rua in the second. Sat down the Rangers in order after that. And a 2-2 to Ryan Rua. Reaches out and slaps it to first. Gonzalez feeding Wood, who juggles and drops it.
Adrian Gonzalez, one of the best at feeding pitchers from first base, gets it over there as soon as possible so that Alex doesn't have ball and bag at the same time. Gets the ball to hit the glove there and just doesn't get it in there. It's the distraction you're looking to do as a first baseman, to make sure your pitcher doesn't get the ball and the bag at the same exact time so he can concentrate on one and then concentrate on the other. Alex just wasn't able to execute.
Robinson Chirinos attacks the first one and pulls it foul. Would you prefer to be led to the bag or fed before you get to the bag so that you could find the bag?
Yeah, get it to me as soon as possible, and that's what Adrian tries to do, and he did a good job right there. He released the ball really quickly. It was underhand and it was slower, but you saw where Alex received the ball, or attempted to receive the ball. He's about 4 or 5 feet from the bag, and he would have had time to catch it and then take a step and a half and tag the bag. A few steps off the mound, I always lined myself up with the bag, so I didn't have to figure out where it was. I didn't just start running towards first and not know where it was. I picked up a line, and then it was all about the ball, and then the bag just pretty much just gets in the way.
Turner charges, picks it, throws him out. Then the 5th for the 3-run shot from Rougned Odor, and it's 4-0 Rangers. runs for the Rangers coming off of home runs. 4-0. You can guarantee your tickets to opening day with the 2016 Dodgers mini plan. Choose from great promotional games with fan favorites like bobbleheads and retired number pins. Go to Dodgers.com/mini plans for more. Bottom third of the Dodgers order against Derek Holland. Trying to claw back as we begin the fifth. Jock Peterson goes after the first one and shoots a base hit to left. One of the 4 Dodgers hit of the night. All of them singles. One of them from Charlie Culberson, who comes up now. He advanced to second on a bunt from Wood after his 3rd inning base hit, but then was caught trying to advance to third on a ground out to short. Strike one. This Trace Thompson. He'll bat for Alex Wood, and word is that the Dodgers will turn this into a DH spot and the pitcher spot because it's spring training and you can do what you want.
What happened to baseball rules?
Yeah. Bouncing ball, base hit. Culberson second of the night, station to station. And the first 2 have reached for the Dodgers here in the 5th against Holland.
When Kelly gets a chance to interview Alex Wood after this outing, I won't be surprised if he says it's the best I've felt all spring. I threw the ball great. I know there's 2 home runs and 4 runs, but you know, maybe those balls don't go out if I'm in a normal stadium, but I feel ready for one more outing and then the regular season.
He had 6 strikeouts tonight, walked only 1. Seemed like he had really good movement on the stuff, and you mentioned a couple of times him locating on that arm side corner.
Yeah, not only did he have control, he had command. And he was locked in, and I like the crispness of the movement on all of his pitches, his fastball, his breaking ball, and his changeup.
See if Thompson can lift one into that jet stream out towards left. Upstairs, and it's 2-0. What's the difference between control and command? I know you mentioned it earlier.
Control is strikes, and command is commanding the strike zone. And so if you're a pitcher that you know, is throwing strikes, but you're making mistakes up in the strike zone, you're going to get hit. And you're going to say, well, I'm not walking anybody. But yeah, but when you throw the ball over the plate, you're throwing in places it's easy to hit. Okay. And in command, if you can throw the ball near the corners and just off the corners when you want, then you've got both command and control. And that's what we talked about with Derek Holland, you know, at the beginning of the broadcast, when he's kind of Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Who is he going to be? Well, he's best when he not only has his control, but he has command, because he's not afraid to throw the ball in the strike zone. He's lowered his walks in his time at the big leagues, but a lot of times his home run rate and his fly ball rate have gone up. So that tells you that he's missing up in the strike zone, even though he's throwing strikes.
See if they give Thompson the 3-0 green light. Takes a strike. Derek Holland is in his 8th major league season. You mentioned it earlier, Old. Just 15 games started over the last 2 years because of injuries. It was a knee injury in 14. It was related to his shoulder last year. His 3-1. Thompson bangs one to third. In and out of the glove of Robinson. Transfers late, and everybody's safe. That'll be an error on Robinson at third. Thompson hustles it out, and they're loaded with nobody out.
No, you hit a bullet to third, and as a batter leaving the box, you say, I've got to get to first and not be a double play. But Trace Thompson not only is not disappointed and is running hard to beat out the double play, he beats out the throw to first. Young man sees it, and now he sees the bobble, and he just keeps striding it out. He can glide when he runs. He doesn't look like he's turning them over real quick, but every stride is covering a lot of ground.
We get to see it when he plays in the outfield. So graceful out there.
Reminds me of Devon White from my day.
Let's take a look at our Carl's Cam replay. Go back to Kike Hernandez's last trip up. It was in the third inning. He thought he had hit a home run to put the Dodgers in front 2-1. In fact, he circled the bases, got a high five from Chris Woodward. The umpires got together and said that it was foul, and he wound up grounding into a fielder's choice. Heck of an opportunity here with the bases juiced. Strike one.
Nice little test here for Derek Holland on the mound. 67 pitches now. That's stretching out his spring training pitch count. And he also has a bases loaded no out situation with a 4-run lead. As a pitcher, you're thinking trading outs for runs right here. If you can get the dugout up 4-2, you've done your job.
Peterson singled. Culberson singled. Thompson reached on an error. And now Hernandez rolls one to third, testing Robinson again. He'll come home for the force and the first out of the inning.
Robinson shaking his head down there, glad he got one, but wondering if he can ever catch one cleanly. This one comes up on him. Does a good job keeping the game in his head quiet, even though he bobbled one back-to-back. Makes a strong throw.
Yasiel Puig walked his first time, struck out his next time, and here he is with the bases loaded, representing the tying run in the fifth inning. In his last at-bat, he was taking all the way on the first pitch. Here in a more ready stance. And he goes after it, strike one.
For the first two at bats, the first pitch, he stood there with the bat on his shoulder like the Statue of Liberty. That one he was geared and ready to hit, so I don't think he was faking out Derek Holland that, oh, I'm going to take. Holland returning to the area where Yasiel struck out in his last at bat as he took him up the ladder.
Culberson at third, Thompson at second, Hernandez at first, and a 1-1. Puig fouls it off, 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Yasiel is thinking pitch sequences as far as what Derek Holland has done to other right-handed hitters in the Dodger lineups tonight. When they have missed the fastball there, he's tried to throw his breaking ball down and in behind their back knee to get them to swing and miss.
You mentioned it. He struck Puig out with an elevated fastball. Went to it here, popped him up, and short right. Infield fly rule in effect as Odor makes the play for the second out.
Didn't go breaking ball, but stayed in there and kept him from extending his arms.
And so it's up to Turner.
Yasiel pulls his hands in, has to take the top hand off the bat as he starts to get jammed, and didn't get any extension there.
And now Holland has a chance to get out of what was a bases loaded, nobody out jam. But having to face the Dodgers 3-hitter, Justin Turner, who's reached in all 7 games that he's played in this spring. Trying to reach for the first time tonight, though.
I know, as soon as we showed the Carl's Cam of a foul home run as our highlight, with downhill, no runs on the board, I had a bad feeling about our bases loaded situation.
So this is on Mike Levy, our producer.
Well, he didn't say it was a highlight. He said it was a replay. I would have thought we might have waited for Carl's Cam after a bases loaded no out situation where we would have a really high Dodger moment.
Now he's saying your headset's not working. We need to kill your microphone. It's working. Nice stop by Chirinos, 1-1.
He is new to the job this year, and he's done an outstanding job to this point.
Yeah.
But it is spring training for him also.
Yep. We need to call him Rook. What do you think?
That's not for you to say.
That's true.
Rook.
Yeah. All right. Gave it a try.
Don't get the pressure off of you right away. Don't pass the buck.
Turner sends one in the air to center. DeShield's back on it, and this game is tied on a Justin Turner grand slam.
This is what I'm talking about. This is what Carl's Cam should have been. You've got to have patience sometimes as a producer. You've got to wait for the moment. Here it is. Justin Turner, a hit in every Cactus League game now. Played in 8. What's he got? 3 multi-hit games in the Cactus League. And here is your Carl's Cam play of the game. And I have a feeling even another sponsor should get this grand slam. Bobby Guerin likes it.
We've got our Lexus play of the game later today.
Let's use it for Lexus, too. When you go granny, you can be on 2 segments of the broadcast.
And I think you might have earned yourself a check from Carl's because we had already done that.
At least a burger.
Get one of those burgers, yeah. Yeah, I don't think that our producer Mike Levy's ready to break from spring training after that move.
I have a feeling that I'm going to be part of a group email with Mike and myself and someone else that I'm going to probably get in trouble.
For throwing in sponsor names?
For razzing him, yeah, on the air.
Ball and 2 strikes on Adrian Gonzalez. And a new game tied at 4 here in the 5th. Left-hander on left-hander. Here comes Holland. And a good eye from Gonzalez, 2-2. Turner now 12 for 20 this spring with 6 doubles and 2 homers. 2-2. We've seen 3 home runs tonight, and they've all been hit in the perfect place to take advantage of the wind.
Yeah, and that's a big part of the ballpark. When you're talking left center gap, that's one of the biggest parts in all ballparks, and you know they're getting a little help tonight.
This one bounced right into the shift. Odor in short right field throws out Gonzalez. But Justin Turner, after the Dodgers had the bases loaded and nobody out, came up with the bases loaded and 2 outs and hammered a grand slam to tie the game at 4. Justin Turner's grand slam has tied the game at 4 as we march out of the 6th inning here at Camelback Ranch. Kenley Jansen comes in for Alex Wood.
Well, we know we're normally going to see Kenley in the 9th when the score is hopefully up by 1 to 3 runs. Sometimes it'll be in a tie. And he is a guy that we can definitely count on. And don't look at the spring training ERA. He is about ready.
This is his 8th outing of the spring. And it begins with Michael McHenry. Breaks one off for strike 1. Ground out and a single for McHenry. Stubbs and Robinson to follow in the inning.
Back-to-back sliders for Kenley, something you wouldn't usually normally see from him. Something he's working on here in spring training in this outing right now.
Now the fastball, 2-1.
His free agent year, Joe. Hopefully he will sign back with the Dodgers. Very well liked by his teammates, and his effectiveness is off the charts.
Enters the year within 19 saves of the club record held by Eric Gagne. So 142 in his career. Started with the Dodgers in 2010. 7th big league season coming up here. That'll be his 5th with time as the closer. And at this point, the undisputed guy at the back end of that bullpen. His 2-2. Drifts in. Full count. Right-hander out of Curacao. There's one hit on the ground to third, and Turner getting it done in all phases tonight. 1 away.
Kenley challenged him with the fastball, and Justin took the challenge with the hard ground ball and turned it into an out.
Drew Stubbs struck out both times against Wood, who finished his night with 6 strikeouts. Only walked 1. Gave up home runs to Rua and Odor to account for those 4 Texas runs. Strike 1 to Stubbs. More than 9,000 in the house tonight, Oral. The average up near 11,000 for the Dodgers here at Camelback Ranch this spring, which is going to break the record by about 1,000 total per game.
The Dodgers have been a hot ticket all around Arizona. What have they been, 7 sellouts?
Yeah. Started playing here in 2009. Seats about 13,000 when you include the grass hills in left center and right center. After 6 decades at Dodger Town, Vero Beach. I'm sure you have a few memories of your time there.
For sure. And Mr. O'Malley has taken Dodger Town back over and renamed it Historic Dodger Town, and they've really got a lot of activities there. Baseball teams and different sports coming through there and using the complex. Refurbished everything there in Vero Beach.
Some fantasy camps, right?
Fantasy camps.
Yeah.
Some foreign baseball teams come in there and train.
Jansen to Stubbs with a 2-2. 2 go.
Everybody's so used to seeing Kenley go cutter, 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 maybe 4-seamer up. But when he mixes in his slider, even when it's not in the best location, it is such a surprise to hitters and a change of speeds that he gets away with a wider range of mistakes and a wider range of pitches that become effective instead of mistakes.
He sure is working on it a lot tonight.
Yeah, he's thrown 3 or 4 of them already. There's the traditional and typical cutter from him,
which he throws about 75% of the time. See what he goes to on 1-0. Barnes sets away, and he snaps off his slider for a strike.
Might be the most sliders he's ever thrown in an inning in his career. And he continues to grow as a pitcher, and he understands that having another weapon, if he has to come into a series 2 out of 3 games, 3 out of 4 games, that it's nice to have another look to go to. And some of the bigger matchups in the big leagues, like a Paul Goldschmidt or guys around the league that are your better hitters, it's also good to have that weapon even the first time you face them.
Two balls, 2 strikes on the 8-hitter, Drew Robinson, whose error last inning opened the door for the Dodgers to cash in with a grand slam from Turner. Couple of pitches Kenley's wanted and not gotten from J.J. January. And the count is full.
Depends on who you're rooting for. If you're watching us on MLB Network, Ranger fans are glad it's a ball. Dodger fans are saying, where was that?
Trying to work a 1-2-3 inning. Heavy slider from Kenley Jansen in this outing so far. Using one of his final outings of Cactus League action. 2 more games for the Dodgers left here in Arizona. Using one of his last outings to work on something. You'd never see a guy in a regular season outing come in and work on something to this degree. And a fly ball to center that Peterson took a moment to find. That time of night, and the lights came on and put it away to complete a 1-2-3 frame for Kenley Jansen. Charles Jr. Night is finished for Derek Holland as Tony Barnett comes into the game for his 9th Cactus League appearance. The number's pretty good so far. He'll face 5, 6, and 7 in the Dodgers order in a 4-4 game after Justin Turner's grand slam in the 5th. Derek Holland on his way out, signing some autographs. getting a quarter or a third, an eighth, a tenth of the crowd. Or Hershiser calls for when he walks out.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Derek Holland looking like he's going to be a mainstay in the rotation, health, and the Rangers are looking forward to getting a healthy rotation of some really high-level pitchers. Going to get Yu Darvish back early in the season. Martin Perez is returning from Tommy John that he had last July. Holland coming back after missing 4 months with a bad shoulder. And, of course, Cole Hamels for a full year.
The bullpen expected to be solid. And Sly gets one off the end of the bat to Odor.
What a run they put on Houston there at the end of last year.
Yeah, they were 7-14 to begin the season. They were still around the deadline when they went out and got Hamels. I think you mentioned it earlier that at that point, a lot of people looked at it as building for 2016. Saw a window in the market where they could make a move, and so did. Not many people outside of that clubhouse thought that would help lead to them making a run in 2015. They weren't above 500 for good until mid-August. But they went 38-21 the final 2 months of the season. Led the division for the first time September 15th. And in Jeff Bannister's first year, won the West Division title.
They were the 5th team in history to go from last in 2014 to first. Atlanta did it in 91. The Cubs did it in 98 and 2009. And Tampa Bay did it in 2008. And these Rangers did it last year.
Jeff Bannister won Manager of the Year as a result.
5th manager in Major League history to be named Manager of the Year in their rookie year. I sure hope Dave Roberts gets it.
Yeah. That would mean good things for the Dodgers. There's a 2-1 to Austin Barnes. And it's 2-2. Rangers have made 4 postseason trips in the last 6 years. That includes those pair of American League pennants in 2010 and 11. So 4 trips in the last 6 years. They had made 3 in the first 38 years of the franchise since they opened in Texas in '72. 2-2. Barnes reaches out to stay alive. Some of the Dallas papers this week talking about how this could be the greatest year of baseball in Texas ever, with some people picking the Astros to win the American League, some people picking the Rangers to win the American League. Barnes hits a fly ball into that jet screen. It's way up there, so it sends it all the way to the warning track. But the wind has died down some from earlier tonight, and the ball dies into the glove of DeShields for the second out. Should be some great series, though, this year between the Rangers and the Astros.
They play for the Silver Boot.
Yeah.
That's what it's called. I think. Stretching my memory now. Probably get a tweet from a Ranger fan.
If you're wrong, you will.
Nobody. Even if I'm right. Please. So I can say it with more confidence.
Of course, just recently that the two teams are in the same division. The Astros moving over from the NL Central a few years back. Jack Peterson 1 for 2 with a ground out and a single. Here comes an 0-1. Fastball for a strike.
I've been told it's called the Lone Star Series between the Astros and the Rangers, and they do play for the Silver Boot.
I was going to say it can be called the Lone Star Series, but they could still play for that boot you mentioned. One and two on Jock Peterson. Lays off this pitch from Barnett, who has a delivery that has to be hard to time up as a hitter.
You're always looking for a place to start your trigger. You have your own trigger yourself, and then when am I going to start? A great hitting coach that coached in Texas for a long time, Rudy Jaramillo. Taught me an awful lot about hitting when I was the Texas Ranger pitching coach.
Peterson takes strike 3 to bring this inning to a close. Barnett sits him down in order, keeps it tied at 4. On to the late innings, tied at 4. You can celebrate the legacy of number 42, Jackie Robinson. Friday, April 15th, when the Dodgers take on the Giants. First 40,000 fans there get an adult replica Jackie jersey presented by Bank of America. Visit Dodgers.com/promotions for more information on how you can get tickets and land one of those number 42 jerseys. 9-1-2 against Kenley Jansen here in the 7th. Worked the 1-2-3-6 and starts Ryan Strasburger with strike 1.
You won't see this very often. Kenley Jansen coming out for a second inning. There'll be times I think you might see him in the 8th with 2 outs and bases loaded, or man on second, 2 out, and they decide to get that 4-out save with him where he records the last out of the 8th and then comes back out for the 9th. Very rarely will you see him throw a complete first inning and then come back out for the second. This is also part of just building his endurance for spring training. As we see him quick pitch was another trick he put into his arsenal last year. And you can do that from the stretch when nobody's on base. It's considered your windup at that moment.
Barnes will set away. And Jansen fired a fastball that Strasburger fouled off. Kenley has expressed that he's open to throwing multiple innings. An interesting stretch this offseason for him when it was reported that the Dodgers had signed Aroldis Chapman. And the immediate question that everybody started thinking of was, well, what does that mean for Kenley Jansen? And you know that Kenley Jansen started thinking that, even though the front office was sure to contact him through those negotiations that were in the news with Chapman. But he's been nothing but positive since arriving, and of course getting asked questions about that and what his impressions were of it, what his reactions were to it as soon as he arrived here at Camelback Ranch. Since he answered that first wave of questions, it's been business as usual for him.
For sure.
It's 3-2. This is up and in, and that's a leadoff walk.
Probably getting a 4-out save or a workload here in reverse order. In the regular season, you come in, you get your 1 out, you get them out of the jam, and then you go with the full 9th inning, get your save. So your more strenuous work is in the 2nd inning after you sit in the dugout, watch your team on offense. But here Kenley Jansen had his larger amount of work the last inning. Now the first batter gets on, and they're going to allow him to continue to pitch. But I would think that the easier part of his work and extension would be in this inning, where he wouldn't pitch this full inning.
Remember, he told Alana Rizzo the other night after coming in the middle innings of a game that wasn't close, that it's a little weird as a closer when you come in the middle part of a game. At least in this case, he's pitching in a tie game.
That extra level of focus, that extra level of breathing fire as you come through the bullpen gate is just not there for closers when you bring them in just to get work.
Runner takes off. Pitch was low, so a tough one for Barnes to throw down, and Strasburger steals second.
Barnes does a pretty good job. Low pitch, quick release, pretty accurate throw. So Kenley's delivery was probably somewhere around 1.3 or so, which is beginning to be slow to the plate. Barnes not having much chance to get him.
Where do you stand on the whole argument that started to develop that your closer shouldn't necessarily, or your best relievers shouldn't necessarily be your closer, your 9th inning guy, that your best reliever, so the guy that's typically nowadays slotted as your closer, should get the highest leverage situation, even if that means it's in the 6th or 7th inning?
I think you're breeding guys at a certain level where you go, this is what I want you to concentrate on, and they get in that mentality. And if you start looking for leverage situations, I think all of a sudden you get guys out of their mental groove of what they are gearing up for and what they are trained to be. I understand when you get into playoffs or in September when the games start to get to a point where you might want to get out of your normal habits. But I think these guys are creatures of habit, and they get into their groove of what they're expected to do, how they're going to get loose, what they're going to go after. And you have guys, specific matchup guys for those leverage situations, the lefties, the righties that you want in those situations, and then you have your closer. So I fall more on the traditional side of having that closer and not really adapting him to, it could be the 8th, it could be the 9th.
It's here.
Kenley Jansen goes 1 1/3 officially. Runner at third, his responsibility as Chris Hatcher comes into the game. Guy that was the closer to begin last year with Kenley Jansen on the shelf to begin the season and picked up the first save of the season against San Diego.
And Chris Hatcher has the stuff to be a closer. As we continue the conversation from when Kenley was there about the tradition of having a closer, or compared to using your best reliever in a high leverage situation, let's say from what, the 7th inning on?
Yeah. Pedro Siriaco's first at bat of the game. Hatcher begins his time by checking on Strasburger at third.
Definitely a spring training play to see if we can get it down, and it's an easy one to put on after a reliever gets put into the game, because you can talk about it during the mound visit and the changing of the pitchers.
You mentioned the mentality of closers and not wanting to mess with that, not wanting to mess with the mental side of a closer's position. But the people that argue that it should be the highest leverage situation that their best stopper throws in would scoff at the idea of anything mental or pressure related.
Exactly. They also scoff at the idea of that a batting order and who's on deck can change what pitches the guy at the plate is going to get. But I think, we've watched baseball start to adapt and change according to, data. And it might get to that point. We see it with lineup construction, that, you don't always have a bona fide leadoff hitter. You don't always have a bona fide number 2 hitter. You don't always have a number 5. Players would tell you they enjoy the comfort of coming to the locker room knowing they're always going to be in the 3 hole, the 2 hole, the leadoff hole. But with more roster construction and then lineup construction of being able to adapt to the ballpark, the starting pitcher, the matchups in the bullpen that could come, all the different things, people are taking out of the equation the comfort of the player and saying, just get used to it. You're a piece, and we will use you and put you in the best situation to succeed for yourself and for the team.
Hatcher tried to get Siriaco to climb the ladder. Count goes full.
And I think this generation of players in the last, 3 to 5 years has started to understand that and get used to it.
Although right now, markets value saves as a statistic, so you'd have a hard time convincing some closers of that strategy. Hatcher strikes out Siriaco, because when you're looking at a guy's stat line when he gets to free agency, and Kenley Jansen a perfect example. You mentioned he's coming up on his free agent year. When you're trying to sell that player as an agent, you're going to state his number of saves. In the case of Kenley, 35 and 37 chances last year. It's going to be hard to sell a guy, or at least harder to sell a guy as an agent, if you say, well, he pitched in high leverage situations and got the job done. You don't have that bottom line save statistic to flash in front of teams.
Right. Yeah, you could end up with 3 guys with outstanding arms that you think you can all kind of interchange them according to matchups and situations and leverage for that night. And you might end up, let's say, a Chris Hatcher that ends up with 15 saves and 40 holds, and a Kenley Jansen ends up with 20 saves and 32 holds, and another pitcher on your team, let's say it's a Luis Avilan, that ends up with 7 saves and, 36 holds. And you go, we've got 3 guys that can close. We've got 3 guys that can come into high leverage situations prior to the 9th, depending on the matchup. And the way their statistics fall are just the way they happen to fall. But it was all best for the ball club. And we might get to that point.
Odor cracks one to second. Charlie Culberson. And that's the inning. Leadoff walk doesn't come back to bite the Dodgers. Hatcher comes on for Kenley Jansen, and it stays 4-4 as we stretch. Tied at 4 as we go to the bottom of the 7th inning, and Faulkner checks into the game to pitch for the Rangers. 8-9-1 for the Dodgers. Charlie Culberson with singles in both of his at-bats. Came in to score on Justin Turner's grand slam. It tied it back in the 5th inning after the Rangers got a solo shot from Ryan Rua in the 2nd and a 3-run homer from Rougned Odor in the 5th. Andrew Faulkner, 3rd pitcher of the night for Texas. He's ahead of Culberson, 0-2. Culberson goes the other way with a fly ball for the first out, with Strasburger putting it away. So 2 games left here in Arizona for the Dodgers. Play out the Padres tomorrow. Then they'll host the Indians for their final game of Cactus League play. Then it's off to Los Angeles for the Freeway Series. 2 games at Dodger Stadium. 1 game down in Anaheim. Travel day on Sunday to San Diego for opening day Monday. 1 week from tonight. We're less than 1 week. That first pitch of the season being thrown.
Vinny will do that first game of opening day. He'll do the 2 games at Dodger Stadium against the Angels in that Freeway Series, and then you and I and Nomar will do game 2 of the regular season from San Diego and continue on that road trip to San Francisco. I got permission from one of our big-time bosses, Lon Rosen, that I'm able to call you Rook all year.
Wow.
So I just want you to know I cleared it with higher authorities.
Okay. I mean, even if you didn't, I couldn't argue it because I'm just a Rook.
But ability level, you are not a Rook.
Oh, I appreciate that, Oral.
Yeah. Don't blow my evaluation.
It's not as tough to live up to as Adrian Gonzalez calling Corey Seager a Hall of Famer this offseason, right?
That's true.
You didn't do that to him.
I'm looking forward to seeing Corey.
Yeah, me too.
A, healthy, and B, because he is so much fun to watch.
We are all looking forward to Corey's return, which the team still hopes will be for opening day against San Diego. Thompson flips one down the right field line, foul. And maybe even this weekend in the Freeway Series, there was some rumoring that he may play a game or 2 in that set to shake off any last rust that he's got. Though you said it earlier, you're not too concerned about his ability to get right back in the saddle.
Rarely in my time in the big leagues, and then since I've been out of uniform, have I seen a player not break with the team to go to the Freeway Series and be on the opening day roster. Like Yasmani Grandal is going to stay back and get work here. Howie Kendrick is going to stay back and get work done here and get some at-bats. Very rarely do you see guys stay back getting some at-bats or getting in shape and then quickly join the team on the travel day after the Freeway Series and be on the opening day roster. Guys that have a chance are usually going to be on that airplane to play in the Freeway Series.
So I'm glad we got a call for the Saturday game.
Yeah, barely got in there. We squeaked it in trouble. I think everybody that's got a chance to be on the opening day roster will be traveling back to L.A.
Thompson thrown out by Siriaco, 2 away. Elian Herrera bats for the first time tonight in the leadoff spot for the Dodgers and takes a strike. Replace Kike Hernandez. Hey, good for you keeping up on your scorebook. I see you over there in the 7th inning still going.
I'm stretching it out. I'm going to try and make 7 or 8 here today, and then our Freeway Series game, I've got to go 9.
Yeah, I don't want to see you pushing it too far too quickly.
I've noticed I'm getting little blisters here as I've That's how I decide when I'm going to stop. And when some of the names that come in that don't match the numbers.
And with the years you have on those tires, I tend to want to take a cautious approach with this and tell you back off. Shut her down in the 7th.
Okay. Let's get a few days off before the Freeway Series game.
You do. That's true. Tied at 4 after 7. We go to the 8th inning here in Glendale. Little guy decked out in Detroit Tigers gear here at Camelback Ranch, Glendale, Arizona. She's got the right shirt on. Getting it dirty, though.
To avoid those obstacles.
There are plenty.
Look at her. She's doing a good job.
Slalom. Joe Blanton. Dodgers continue to work backwards tonight. They started with Jansen out of the bullpen, then Hatcher, who normally would be the setup man for Jansen, and now Blanton, who would normally be the bridge to Hatcher and Jansen.
Well, Joe Blanton is a valuable piece in the Dodger bullpen now to protect all the other arms. Come in and give quality innings and give some length.
Hanser Alberto takes strike 1. Chases after a Blanton slider, the pitch that helped him revive his career last year as a reliever for the first time. First off with the Royals, then dealt to the Pirates, where in 21 games he had a 1.57 ERA. Throwing that slider twice as often as he did as a starter. Heavy slider. Q shot up along first. Testing Rob Segedin. Is into the game defensively for Adrian Gonzalez. You know, Rob Segedin's not going to make this opening day roster, but this guy can play.
Yeah, he's really impressed and did a nice job there on that little ground ball, hustling up so the runner doesn't run by him. Making the swift tag, but well, he has shown he can turn a fastball around down here in the Cactus League.
Again, Segedin second. Verdugo
Play both corner spots for the Dodgers, first and third.
Pitcher 7 for that.
Bobby Wilson in his first at bat fouls off strike 1. think I'm all caught up on the defensive replacements. You want to glance?
I appreciate you having good penmanship.
Do what I can.
I can see that.
Fill everybody else in on it. Not on the penmanship, just on the defensive changes.
I'm doing that. Usually you have a higher level of graphics than this.
Yeah, well, at least it's good penmanship. You have yourself one of these early in the game, right? It's just when they start rolling them in the late innings. Or do you not even put one of these together? I think I saw Nomar making one himself.
Yeah.
But for you, I mean, you don't need the immediate idea of the ball or who the ball's hit to.
Now, when I first started in broadcasting, I used to make one every night. And then after about the 5th or 6th year, I stopped and I just used my scorecard.
Okay. And every broadcaster has his own way of keeping score.
Pretty much as you get going and you start to learn the league and understand where everybody plays, it can throw you off a little bit on a night when maybe a team is either resting a lot of guys or there's quite a few guys that are hurt.
Yeah. Dave Roberts coming out of that dugout. Joe Blanton, 2 up and 2 down. And J.P. Howell coming in. So Dave Roberts being sure to get all of his key cogs in the bullpens and work tonight with his Cactus League season winding down. To Hatcher, to Blanton, and now J.P. Howell.
32-year-old with 9 years of Major League service total. 11th year into the big leagues. JP has filled every role down there for the Dodgers, and usually at a very high quality level. From a guy who can come into a middle of an inning or start his own inning, to a left-handed specialist to face a tough lefty, to a guy that when the bullpen is running on fumes, he can come in and eat up a couple innings for you.
Entering the year, over his 3 years with the Dodgers, #1 in Dodgers history among pitchers with a minimum 200 games, with a 197 earned run average. And makes quick work of Michael McHenry to get the one batter that he faces here in the 8th. Be interesting to see if Roberts selects to have him go 1+ tonight, pitch in the 9th. wish you could all see Oral playing the air guitar next to me. Tied at 4 as we go to the bottom of the 8th inning. MLB.TV Premium, everything you've come to expect and more with a new low price this year. You can watch every out-of-market game and all 30 teams live in True HD on over 400 supported devices. Visit MLB.TV for details. Jake Diekman into the game for the Rangers, facing Rob Segedin.
You know, the weird thing about being in the broadcast booth at a Rook, baseball rules don't apply. You're supposed to be seen and not heard.
You're right.
You can't do that.
No. Nope, we wouldn't pay you.
No, we wouldn't hear you.
Yeah, that's true. Ball and a strike on Segedin, his first at bat tonight. So you meant just for a rookie should not be.
Well, yeah, in the locker room,
right.
In your first time on the 40-man roster, and
yep.
you know, I walk into a locker room that has Jerry Royce and Bert Hooton and Pat Zachary and Steve Yeager and all these guys, you know, Rick Monday, and you're supposed to be seen and not heard.
And that's the approach I'm taking anywhere
outside of the microphone.
Yeah, yeah. Just staying out of the way.
It was interesting. I read an article that Corey Seager was talking about, you know, how the experience of coming up to the big leagues last year in September and then through the playoffs is really going to benefit him this year. And he said, you know, it's going to be great because I'm going to know where to go, when to go, how to get there. I'm not going to be stepping on anybody's toes. It's going to be so much more comfortable. I'll be able to hit my stride a lot quicker. And that's why they bring guys onto the 40-man roster. And then in spring training invitees that are young guys like Urias or different guys that are going to someday be a big leaguer, that it speeds up that learning curve of the culture.
Alex Verdugo and a tie game in the 8th inning with the leadoff man on after the Segedin walk up there showing bunt. Trying to move the go-ahead run into scoring position. Swings away here and shoots it foul.
You know, the early Dodger record in the Cactus League that was so strong was built by a lot of these young guys in the last, you know, 4 innings or so, when the regulars were going their 1 or 2 at bats and playing their 3 to 5 innings, and in comes the kids, and our kids were outperforming the other team's kids. And it built the winning record. You really don't evaluate your spring training record on, oh, you know, our regulars aren't getting it done, because they're not playing the full game. They're wanting to get in shape, and some of them trying to prove a point, other of them trying to rehab an injury. But the kids come in to make an impression and to earn a job. Maybe instead of being in AA, make it to the AAA roster. Instead of being in AAA and being there all year, proving a point that you can play at this level, and if there's ever an opportunity through an injury or some other opportunity, that you get your name called.
Verdugo hits it in the air to left. And Zach Cohn there to make the play. Jacob Scavuzzo comes up. Had a home run the other day in a big league game. In a split squad matchup.
I can remember a couple experiences as a young player being, you know, a roster guy, even a non-roster guy, and getting invited to come over and pitch in a big league inter-squad game before the games even start, and then to actually be on the 40-man roster and play in some of these games. And the other thing that happens if you do well, you know you're going back to the minors even when you're doing well in these games. But when you're down in the minors and you're struggling a little bit, it keeps the dream alive that I really can do this. I did it in spring training. I was on the field. My heartbeat was normal. I actually performed at a level where I looked like I could play at the big league level. And then you're struggling to minors. You don't give up and think, oh, I'm not going to be able to make it.
Scavuzzo grounds into a double play to bring this 8th inning to a close. And we go to the ninth, tied at 4. Cactus League schedule after tonight for the Dodgers. Then they'll go for the Freeway Series, and then opening day next Monday, 1 week from today in San Diego. They'll open up AT&T Park with the Giants on the 7th. The Giants home opener, and then return to Dodger Stadium for the Dodgers opening day, April 12th against the Diamondbacks. A few days later with the Giants in town, it'll be Jackie Robinson Day. We told you earlier, first 40,000 fans in attendance will get a replica Jackie Robinson jersey. Zach Cohn leads off this inning against J.P. Howell, who came on to strike out Michael McHenry on 3 pitches in the 8th. We saw Kenley Jansen go an inning plus tonight. Now, with nobody warming in the bullpen, it looks as if J.P. Howell will do the same. 1-1.
JP threw the ball very crisply that first batter last inning when he struck him out. You actually saw the depth that you normally see on his changeup in the regular season. You say, well, what's the big deal about building arm strength in spring training to be able to throw your changeup? Well, you got to be strong enough to get it out there out front, keep your hand on top, and use that arm speed to spin the ball.
Heck of a try by Herrera, but Cohn beats it out.
Herrera went to his left right there, backhand, and strong arm, and the wheels have just beat it out just by a hair. About a foot.
Drew Robinson trying to reach for the first time. Tough matchup here with the left-hander Howell.
Playing it straight up here in spring training with a tie in the 9th inning, bunting with a man on first and no out. Sometimes in spring training you just see them let them swing away and show what they can do, but playing for the win.
Saw the Dodgers the other night go to a safety squeeze to tie the game in the 9th inning against the Indians.
A.J. Ellis, the executor.
It was the Kids who led the way with that comeback. They're down 3 entering the 9th inning. A lot of the Dodger minor leaguers helped lead that rally that Ellis capped off with the sacrifice. Finished in a tie.
Probably take the bunt off right here now with the 0-2 count. J.P. Howell maybe try and throw a breaking ball, sweeping low and away, get the strikeout.
Tried to. Good job to lay off by Robinson.
And a nice block by Austin Barnes back there, getting the whole full metal jacket of 9 innings behind the plate. Laid off 2. It means he's seeing the breaking party pretty well, and might try and jam him with a fastball now. If he's staying back that well and reading the spin on the breaking ball, you might be able to sneak something by him or jam him and get a double play on a grounder. It's like going low and away again. Or it's a setup, an extra setup for a fastball in. I'll give you the target low and away, says Austin Barnes. I know we're picking off the first, so maybe you saw me out here, and we'll get you leaning out even more before we call this fastball in and see what we got. We got a curveball, looks like.
Oh. I think it fooled 2 people.
No K-zone here in spring training, but pretty close. Borderline both ways.
So diplomatic tonight, Oral.
Well, we're not just in one region.
You're right. Rocket to right. Good at bat for Drew Robinson. So they're at the corners against Howell. Still nobody warming in the Dodger bullpen. And the 9-hitter Ryan Strasburger comes up. 1 for 2 today. Singleton scored on the 3-run homer from Odor in the 5th.
A couple of things going on here, Joe, with you got your first and third situation. What are we going to do if the runners break? And then you're going to not play double play depth. Maybe play double play depth up the middle. If it's a hard hit up the middle, they might come home. They might go for 2.
All the runs tonight coming via the long ball. Solo homer for Ryan Rua in the 2nd. 3-run homer for Rougned Odor in the 5th. And then a Justin Turner grand slam in the bottom of the 5th. Owls 0-1.
It's a good test for J.P. Howell on the mound. Not only first and third, no out, but here we are near the end of spring training. You've built yourself up. You've had all your off-season workouts, and now you're in a competitive situation where you want to go to the well. You pitched an out the inning before. You had to sit on the bench, and now you see how your arm responds, and you have to go to the well and make some big pitches.
Barnes set it inside for this 1-2 from J.P. Howell. Man, oh man.
Well, he's taking a shot. He's looking for a strikeout to try and get out of this situation with then a double play ball maybe. Right here, I think he's still going to go for the punch out. He's not going to be worrying about the walk right here. He's going for the edges or make something look like a strike, end up a ball.
Coming inside again for a 2-2. This time he got it.
Three borderline pitches. This one's not borderline, but it is sharp. Even from a high altitude, had a sharp break.
Tough to make the ball do that in this Arizona air.
Sure is. Started up on that plane up there. There's not a lot of humidity here to break it down. That ball had a lot of spin on it.
London Lindley with runners at the corners, and Howell now finds himself a ground ball from getting out of this inning. Safety squeeze was on. This is something the Dodgers worked on defending earlier today on the backfields. Putting it to real-life use in a tie game in the ninth. 1-1.
JP is locked in right here. This is game face. This is legit for him.
One and two, and they've got him hung up at third, and they get him. Austin Barnes pulls the trigger, and 2 away.
Well executed on all ends. J.P. Howell throwing an outstanding changeup with depth. Makes it hard to bunt. The squeeze then is blown, and Austin Barnes waits long enough to have the runner home commit. And they get out of it. Man on second, 2 outs. They got a chance to have this inning end and have the Dodgers hit in the bottom of the ninth with a chance to win, with the game still being tied.
And he's now, in the blink of an eye, a strike away from getting out. 1-2 on London Lindley. J.P. Howell coming inside again. Got it. Might just be spring training, but don't tell that to J.P. Howell. Tied at 4 to the bottom of the ninth. Past his bedtime tonight. He knows it too. Tied at 4 to the bottom of the ninth inning here in Glendale, Arizona. The kids having a good time watching this one. They've enjoyed 3 home runs, a solo shot from Ryan Rua, 3-run shot from Rougned Odor, and a grand slam from Justin Turner. All the scoring coming in the first 5 innings. And now Jeffrey Hernandez here to try and secure what will likely finish in a tie if he's able to lock down 3 outs. Dodgers would love to avoid it and plate one here in the bottom of the ninth. True Maggi comes up. Austin Barnes due next. We've seen some Dodger minor leaguers have some big swings all spring long.
Hernandez has a big arm. Ball's flying in there. We got to put him at above 95. I know we don't have a gun on him right here, but just by the sound of it, watching it.
Two and one. And the 26-year-old Drew Maggi. Former Pirates farmhand. Bounces a base hit into right. That's how the ninth inning starts for the Dodgers.
Look over there, pick up your sign, see what's going to be on. What's the skipper want to do? Does he want me to bunt? We're going to go hit and run later in the count. Is he stealing? Austin looking around like he wanted the sign repeated.
Let's see what they do. Austin Barnes. With Lars Anderson due up after Barnes. Looks like they'll let him swing away. He was at least ready to pull the trigger on that first offering from Hernandez.
I wouldn't be surprised if we go a little hit and run right here. Got a pitcher on the mound that has fallen behind, but the balls aren't too wide or too wild that you couldn't make contact. Ooh. Dollar Shave Club for men.
You mentioned it was really coming out. Fernandez's hand went up and in to make it 1-1. 1-2 now.
You're ready for the slider right here.
In the dirt, Maggi takes off, throw down, gets him. Wow. Bobby Wilson pulled that ball from between his chest protector and his mask. Dave Roberts is out there arguing something with J.J. January, and the umpires are going to come together. Any idea?
Not sure. No.
J.J. January, Jordan Baker, Lance Barrett, Carlos Torres, your four-man crew tonight.
They're saying no call. I'm not sure what it could have been.
We may never know.
Well, Kelly will ask Dave in her post-game interview, and we'll be able to find out during the post-game show that answer.
2-2 on Barnes with the bases clear and one away. Barnes has the ability to end it with one swing. He's gone deep 4 times this spring. And that wind continues to blow out towards the left field corner. Here's another 2-2. Upstairs, good take, 3-2. Ball 4.
Maggi made the great play when he read that breaking ball in the dirt and went up there and just they were fortunate that the ball stuck in the equipment and was able to get it out quick and get him thrown out. If that ball deflects at all off the chest protector, he's safe by a lot. You know, because you've got the whole time that it takes to reach down, pick the ball up, regain your stance to throw it, compared to you're already standing and all you have to do is kind of shift your body, grab the ball and throw it. It was an unfortunate break for the Dodgers and a fortunate break for the Rangers that it stuck up there between his chest protector and his mask. You can't fault Maggi at all. You actually credit him for really heads-up base running and an oddity that just happened that he was out.
Lars Anderson, who has played a handful of games in the majors with the Red Sox, waits on a 1-0. Chopper. Albert had a hard time getting it out of the glove, so he'll take it to the bag. To get Anderson, the winning run moves into scoring position, and Charlie Culberson has a chance to be the hero. And nobody warming. Oh, wait, there is somebody warming down in the Dodgers bullpen. That may or may not mean that we would continue playing if the Dodgers didn't break the tie.
Well, sometimes the warming is just someone getting their work in that didn't get in the game tonight.
Culberson, couple of hits tonight. Barnes at second. Can move decently well. 0-1 to Culberson. Down the right field line, foul. And it's 0-2. Arms in the outfield here. I have no clue.
Well, they have to play shallow because any base hit, you're off at the crack of the bat with 2 outs, and now with 2 strikes. Even if the bat leaves the shoulder of Culberson, you're supposed to kind of take an extra secondary lead. Because if he swings and misses, he's out, and it doesn't matter if you were running. So you should get an outstanding jump. So those outfielders play shallower because there's no way they have an opportunity to throw anybody out with 2 out, 2 strikes, and a man on second if you're not in shallow. You got to be able to catch the fly ball that would generally be over your head, not play that shallow, but you got to be able to throw somebody out on a base hit.
Nice stop by Bobby Wilson. And the count is 1-2 on Charlie Culberson. First inning of work for Jeffrey Hernandez. Gave up a single, then walked the batter. But a strike away from getting out of this and keeping it tight at 4. Culberson bangs a base hit into center. Here comes Barnes, and the Dodgers win it 5-4 on the Culberson 9th inning single.
Well, we said the kids have really padded the Dodger record from the 6th inning on here in the Cactus League, and another one where they pull it out.
And our Lexus play of the game is the 3rd hit of the day for Charlie Culberson on a 2-strike pitch. Bangs the winner past Hernandez and into center. It's a fun way for you and I to finish our Cactus League season.
It sure is, and it'll be a fun post-game show for John Hartung and Nomar Garcia-Parra as Kelly gathers some interviews, and we'll get to have all smiles headed up to the Dodger clubhouse.
Charlie Culberson, the former Rocky, with a game-winning base hit. It's the high five from George Lombard. Send you to a break. The guys will have you in the studio on the other side.